Hey everyone, this is Pew News. Welcome back to our podcast. I've been gone for a month in a very faraway land known as Ottawa, close to the realm of which we do not speak, known as Quebec. We have nothing planned today, so...
I have planned stuff today. This is your host, Thejerkdonny, and as you know, I am the one that runs this What the fuck am I saying? I don't actually have anything planned.
I'm Sir Knives Bateman, the well-hung, the well-strung, the well-off man. I'm a white cis male that you all know and love. Very privileged. Very happy to be here.
Well, as you know, a running theme in our podcast is we don't know what to say.
Anti-vax.
And anti-vax, yes, and we talk about Area 51 a lot. So let's start with the biggest story of what happened on September 20th.
Oh, this is a great talk. Yeah, I think this went down exactly how I thought it would go down. You have millions of people respond, and I was thinking it was a joke. I was really hoping it wasn't, because I was genuinely interested to see what they had.
Yeah.
That being said, I didn't think it was going to actually happen.
Yeah, me neither. The only thing I was surprised about is that I thought more people would show up.
Yeah. There was a handful of people.
It was a couple hundred?
Yeah, barely.
And then they started calling it alien stock.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
I thought it was actually, a decent event, considering. If it becomes, a yearly thing, without, all the police there.
Without the constant looming threat.
I believe there was only one arrest, which was a guy who was just urinating publicly, and I think that's just the police so they can say they arrested one person.
Gotta get up those numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Arrest one person for public
But the reason why I wanted to bring this up is, do you believe in aliens?
This podcast. How long are we in? 2 minutes. The 2-minute mark. Wow. Do you want a serious answer or you want me to goof around?
Both.
Perfect. Okay. Have you been to Quebec? Okay, we're gonna stop We're gonna stop doing that.
So let's put up a map of people we offended, just a giant X through Quebec. Or as we call them, the non-Canadians. Anyways.
Okay, sure. That's one thing, too. If life starts here, on Earth, that's just evidence that life can start again somewhere else.
Exactly.
Because it's already started in the first place. Do I believe they're out there? Do I believe that they're, have been visiting Earth and are on Earth and all that stuff? Nah. I don't think anyone's... That's the whole thing with conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I think people overestimate, the potential of... the competence of people to keep a conspiracy theory like that grand scale.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't believe it's, here and all that stuff. But, yeah, I'm sure I'm open to the idea that they're out there.
The thing when it comes to, the definition of alien, technically we've already discovered one. They've discovered bacteria starting to form on Mars, and that's technically an alien. So, they've already found life on Mars. They found, those bacteria that are starting to grow there. And stuff like that. So, I guess from a technical sense, yes, they are real, but, are they the green humanoid beings that the media portrays? I don't think so. I think that's...
Yeah, we can't just say that they'd be a humanoid form either.
Yeah.
Right? That's just what we were given. The element carbon is really great for life, but there might be non-carbon life forms. Probably not, but, that's possible. But carbon is sort of the building molecule of organic life.
Wait, did you just mention carbon? That just goes right into my next topic.
So the problem funny, I should mention carbon.
So, I saw you post this on Facebook. The one that everyone's making a meme about.
Talking about climate change? That meme?
Yeah, the one where everyone's making fun of the young lady that...
Oh, that girl, yeah.
Yeah, that brought up the thing about the carbon sinks and how we're losing it. But I think that's also a running theme through our podcast. We just bring up environmental shit. We're starting to sound like a bunch of hippies. But to be fair, there's a giant environmental... I think in this time in history more than any other, the environment is pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of records for how it used to be, but, right at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, you saw this huge increase in the amount of carbon dioxide, especially in the air. But there's other greenhouse gases that people worry about. They worry about chlorofluorocarbons, which have been banned mostly, at least in modern countries. And you worry about methane from agriculture, and people are worried about greenhouse gases and those, and I don't know, one of the biggest piss off, probably people that know me, one of the easiest ways you could piss me off is just to say like, oh, the climate's always been changing. It's like, well, yeah, but like that's also been saying there's always been war, but you know, it's magnitude. It's like the climate is changing so fast now, and like you see like the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and it's, you know, revved up, and they say the climate always changes, and oh, it hasn't felt that warm recently. And it's like there's a difference between climate and weather.
Just because we live in Canada.
it's people that are uninformed.
Yeah.
But,
well, it's a good thing you brought up greenhouse gases, because like whenever I find that you bring up greenhouse gases, that's a really touchy subject for a lot of people.
oh yeah, people are either like, yeah, climate change is a problem, or they're not a problem. There's
a lot of research that says like, oh, greenhouse gases is actually not the problem. It's just cow farts.
Well, methane is I think it's 25 times more potent as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide.
Yeah, no, I get that, but like they try to undervalue.
Oh yeah, well they just say it's cow farts. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, but those cows are coming from a population that's enough to feed like billions of people.
And then we also mentioned that people are just like growing crows like crazy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that all of our environmental problems, I keep telling everyone, is all of that can be linked back to overpopulation. Like, there's so many people on the planet now that anything you do, if everyone switch, so here's an example, like, everyone got off plastic, and then it's like, well, we switched to paper bags again, and now all these forests are getting cut down for paper bags, and people get off paper bags, and they switch to glass containers, and now we have a silica sand crisis, where we're running out of sand.
Yeah.
It's just because there's so many damn people on the planet, which is the reason why anything we do is no longer sustainable, because there's so many people.
Yeah.
Unless we drink our own piss and eat our own shit.
Through that damn straw that keeps coming up on the Wish. But yeah, no, overpopulation has always been something talked about, which is why I hate when people bring up like, oh, easy solution, mass genocide. Yeah. It's like,
oh, it's simple, you kill everyone. I never thought of that before.
Isn't that like the whole thing about like the human race at this point, is like we just want quick, easy solutions without much thought? Because I find like, oh, we have too many plastic bags. Let's cut down a bunch of trees and make paper bags. Oh, fuck it. Let's take all the sand. We have too much of that.
Yeah, and the solutions always sound really simple, and people are like, there's always that one guy in the crowd that's like, why don't we just give everyone food to prevent world hunger? It's like, there's always really simple ideas to solve things, but, you know, it's not the idea, it's the implementation that's hard.
Yeah.
So getting that stuff to work is always the difficult thing, but that's even with climate change. The problem with a global issue is because we don't have one big country and one leader.
Yeah.
We have all these other countries with different populations, and they believe in different things, and their world leaders have different priorities. Like, over in the developing countries, they're one of the biggest contributors, but at the same time is they don't have enough money to actually develop these solutions there, because their countries don't have a lot of money.
Exactly.
And here we are in the fucking first world, sitting on our couches and eating our, what's the fucking expensive food? Paschetti.
I was gonna say sushi.
Eating our paschetti and sushi, and we're saying that they need to act up and sort of, you know, take role and initiative here, but that's the whole thing, is we're just pointing fingers at each other. And we're in the developing country, we're worried about our economy, and everyone's worried about our economy, and, you know, it's just a whole bunch of blaming each other, and no one's actually coming together.
Yeah. When we're talking about, like, how everyone's been making fun of that lady bringing up all the carbon sink problems and all that, don't you find it kind of annoying that every time a big environmental issue is brought up, it always is met with hippies?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is this is a binary problem. You either believe that this is a problem, or you believe it's a big joke.
Yeah.
And there's often no one that's just in the middle that has said, oh, I'm not entirely convinced on either side. Like, I've never found a person that has been in the middle of this.
Yeah.
I can understand, I find people that can see both sides, but on one side you see people being like, I believe in and trust in the scientific evidence that's here, and I believe and see that this is a problem. On the other side, people say the climate's always changing.
Yeah.
This is a problem, we can't trust scientists, and, you know, you have...
I kind of get why a lot of people say I can't trust scientists, because there's a lot of scientists that also will be like, very flip-floppy with what they say. Like, there are obviously a lot of scientists out there that are just like, oh, we'll pay you this amount of money to say that, oh, climate change is not a real thing. And then you get a lot of fighting within the scientists.
Well, those aren't usually scientists. Those are, like, what are they called?
Pieces of shit?
Yeah, pieces of shit. No, they're called, what are they called again? So essentially private companies will, private companies, so, like, one of the biggest ones is, like, oil and gas companies. Mm-hmm. They would pay off, what the hell are they called? Think tank people, and they pay off these private organizations, lobbyists, sorry.
Yeah.
They pay lobbyist companies, and they'll go lobby the government, and they'll go lobby all these communities, and essentially try to convince masses of people, and people in power, of, these things are not an issue. And so that's what lobbying is, a really powerful tool that a lot of people employ. And scientists and environmentalists, they never used lobbyists, but these private companies had all this money, so they could.
Yeah.
And they established this really, great deal of uncertainty with climate change, which has convinced many people that it's not real and true. And, the moment you inspire doubt in people, which is what these lobbyists do, is when you have got them to your side on this issue.
Yeah.
So that's and when we talk about science, too, is like... Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think he was even talking about this issue. He once said, the beautiful thing about science is it's true whether you believe in it or not.
Yeah.
And so that's always been my sort of, way of looking at this as well. But the problem here, though, is that the climate change issue is no longer about evidence and science, it's about beliefs.
Yeah. So
all the people that are against it don't believe it's an issue.
Yeah.
And all the scientists now, and even people over there, they're trying to think, like... we have all this... It's one side trying to convince the other. It's like religion versus science. Yeah. It's belief versus evidence. And that's sort of the same issue here is... I mean, not to say religion and science are, competing or whatever. Yeah. But the climate change issue, it's you have the people that are seeing all this evidence, and they... I mean, to an extent as well, they believe it's true. And then the people on the other side, they see this evidence, and they don't believe that this is enough evidence to support this, or... that this evidence is, good enough, and they just don't believe it's an issue because they go outside and they're like, oh, it's warm out today.
Yeah.
Or it's cold out today. It's like, well, no, that's not how it works, lady, but, yeah.
You have to look at...
No, Karen.
You gotta... No, Susan.
Susan, I know you need to get your kids to school in your fucking, Range Rover, but we're just kind of killing everyone here. Vaccinate your kids.
Vaccinate your kids.
You want to control the population? Don't vaccinate your kids.
Crap, I forgot completely what I was going to say.
That's okay. Let's talk about the climate, the weather.
The weather?
The weather than the climate. Because those are two different things, people. They're two different things.
Explain how they're two different things to people who don't know.
The weather is very short-term sort of changes in atmosphere and, those sort of patterns. And climate is... broad-scale, long-term changes and things.
Yes.
So when you say, the world's warming at a degree of 1 Celsius, that's a climate pattern because, over years or over 1 year, this has been the average increase in temperature. That's climate. You say weather, and that's today it was 36 degrees outside. Yeah. Because weather's the really short-term observations.
So, after mentioning all that, whenever you see, like, for nowadays, I feel like a lot of the arguments against stuff, when people want to, like, I don't want to say dumb down. What's another way to, I guess,
like
desensitize?
Like it's not as much as an issue, sort of? Okay.
I find that...
Like simplify it.
Yeah, simplify it. I find, like, a lot of problems with this nowadays, and that's just something that we just have to face with, is memes. So I want to talk to you a little bit about memes and its relation to science. I know whenever I bring memes, everyone just laughs, but, like, if you think about it, memes are, if you take any, like, classes now about, like, social media or trying to figure out social media, memes is, like, the big way we communicate.
Yeah, memes are a form of communication.
Because, like, even when I look at the memes about, like, the climate change, I can't help but laugh and think it's funny because I can see...
Right.
The other side, but, like, it's like, guys, you get this is actually, like, an issue. And that's the one thing that pisses me off the most is a lot of people of our generation, I've heard them even say this to me, is like, I'll be like, oh yeah, if we don't start fixing the environment now, or like our grandkids will have a problem with it. It's like, oh, who cares? They'll deal with it. I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, that's what our grandparents did, and look at what happened to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's like the worst argument. It's like, you want to try to leave the world in a better place for the next generation, even if they don't know what Pokemon is and it still hates me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that was actually, there was a sort of a committee on that a while ago. And that was actually, it's really cool that you came to that conclusion, because they came to the same thing as generations have an obligation to leave the world either better or the same as it was before.
Yeah.
And usually it's worse.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at right now. And we're creating, so that's one thing, is we're creating, what's the word, like fourth party victims here.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like the first party are ones that it's affecting directly, and the second party is the ones who were like seeing these effects on the victim and are sort of involved, and the third party is sort of like, they're out of the picture but still somewhat responsible. And fourth party victims are the people that have absolutely no responsibility in the issue, but they're like absolutely affected.
Yeah.
And like for things like this, for global changes in climate and like wars, these are often like kids that haven't been born. And for like things like Chernobyl, all the children that were born after the event, like those are fourth party victims. They had no responsibility in what happened with these issues, but they're affected even more so than some of these other people. And with things like climate, we're creating these because it's going to be pretty disastrous for a lot of people. It's going to cause a lot of migration of people. It's going to cause a lot more disease, especially tropical diseases that are going to be moving to areas that are getting warmer.
Yeah.
And it's going to be causing a lot of financial duress on countries, and a lot of hunger as well, and starvation, and different weather patterns and events, and new disasters which are being predicted. So it's pretty crazy. But everyone has a role to play as well. I mean, corporations are pretty big on this too, but people often forget too that just like, you go to the store and you buy like, you go and you buy a snack lunch, and it comes with a plastic container, a plastic fork.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of oil that went into that. There was a lot of contributions to making these things, but like I said, I think the underlying problem here too is it's really hard to be sustainable in a world where, well, one, that our leaders they're kind of focused on other things a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult because people want to be sustainable, but they don't have the innovations and solutions in yet to do that. And the other problem, of course, is that there's just so many people on the planet that anything we do, like I said, is just going to drain the resources.
Exactly.
So, I mean, some people's solutions, like Elon Musk, is let's go to a different planet.
Yeah.
Because it's time. Like,
the problem with that, I find also too, is that's still like a short term.
Yeah, because we're gonna go there. We're just gonna drain that planet. We're just a galactic parasite.
We can't just planet hop.
Yeah, I mean, some people think that, but
what do you think about like the whole memes around science? Because I find it like a double-edged sword sometimes. Like I find it can be either really informative, bring up issues that people don't really think about.
Yeah, or downplay the issue.
Yeah, downplay the issue. Like the one I saw recently that I was thinking about sending it to you, but like I didn't want to piss you off that day. And there was someone like, it's like, how do you kill a turtle? And it was just like a gun with like straws in it.
Aww.
Yeah.
So that's actually, I mean, something like that though.
I feel like that one's more informative, but
yeah, and that's the thing with memes though, is memes are a form of communication, and any form of communication can be abused and used wrongly, but just like anything, I think memes have their power and their place, and sometimes it can downplay issues, but a lot of times, even with something like that, it's like, you look at a meme, and this is communicating an issue here, and when I see something like this, it's like, this is like happening, and it's sort of a wake-up call, and I mean, honestly, I think problem isn't we need wake-up calls right now. I think the problem is we need actually solutions, but
I think we need more actions than more than just press like if you feel bad for the polar bears.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what's that actually doing? So yeah, I think memes have their place and they have their role. It brings awareness, but we already have a lot of awareness, so it's mainly just like what's sort of the word, like a reinforcement. Yeah, you see that, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to use that straw. Like that's actually why I stopped using plastic straws, was because I saw a video on Facebook with a straw up a sea turtle's nose, and I'm like, okay, never using a plastic straw again.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I've been hearing on like the internet about a lot of people are mad that a lot of a lot of restaurants are switching to like paper straws. Yeah, and a lot of people are like, oh, the cola doesn't taste the same because I don't have a plastic straw.
Yeah, it's like, get bent, dude. Like,
I'm like, oh, I'm sorry,
so you would prefer that this drink tastes a little bit more, like it should, and this straw goes up a fucking nose of a sea turtle. It's like, oh yeah, good for you.
Speaking of like all these problems, like we shouldn't be drinking soda to begin with. Let's be honest here. Like,
yeah, that has its own problems, of course.
We should do that for an episode. Talk about problems with
obesity in America?
Obesity in the world. Well, Canada's pretty bad for obesity, too.
I mean, it's certainly not as bad as America. But.
Yeah, that's true. But, like, the worst country for obesity is always going to be American Samoa. Because, like, on average, they have the most obese people. If you didn't know that, I've done some research. Sorry, I do a lot of body fitness stuff.
Next podcast.
But no, since we're talking about memes, I kind of want to move on to like another issue that I'll talk more about, like I guess a little bit more psychology.
You had lots
side.
Prepared for this episode. I don't know what you're talking about.
I honestly just came up with this on the spot while we talked about memes because I forgot about one issue I really wanted to bring up with you last time, but I forgot.
Yeah.
And that's do you remember? I think it was like a month or two ago. A guy went into Walmart and shot up a bunch of people.
I don't know if I saw that.
Like a bunch, like this. This hit home for me because to those who don't know, I am a department manager at my local Walmart, and of course I heard about it because I work at a Walmart, right?
Yeah.
Before all the people make fun of me, oh, this guy thinks he's smart, but he works at Walmart. What a piece of shit. Anyways,
smash that like button if you think Donovan's a piece of shit.
This video's gonna get like 10 likes. But the outcry about this was what a lot of politicians were saying. What caused this guy to shoot up a bunch of people is he played a lot of video games.
Oh yeah, that's fucking stupid.
And then the memes came out like, "Oh, I play Angry Bird, I'm a killer." So I know you and me are big gamers. So how many people have you killed this week?
Oh, well, yeah, I was playing a lot of Borderlands, so naturally I'm like, I gotta go out there and get an axe and just hack some people up. So
yeah,
I kind of lost count after the 20th person, but I'm saying, maybe if I had to put a number on it, like 27, maybe 27 and a half. One got away.
Yeah, since I play Pokemon, I just enslave animals.
Yeah.
And people.
Yeah.
Let them do my bidding.
That's
but
fair.
no, like, this is an issue that's tackled psychology, like, quite a bit, is because there's a lot of, like, psych tests that have been done. And at our university, there's actually been some local tests. I don't know if I brought this up before, but I'm not going to bring up the professor's name, because I don't know if he wants to be known on this podcast. But one of my professors, him and a student have done, like, multiple research, and they do it every year, where they keep looking at the same data. And they look at, like, how people's like aggression changes with video games, and it doesn't change at all.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's like video games for me have actually been a way for me to get away from some of these pressures. Like I had a shit childhood, I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And video games allowed me to see that the world isn't such a shitty and dark place, that I can actually still have fun and get away from, some of the shittier aspects of life. And it's been like for a lot of people, video games are a way to, release some of the stress of life.
The problem
is, so that you don't go out and murder people.
Yeah, the problem is I also see is a lot of people are like, oh, people are just living vicariously through these people that want to be gangsters. It's like no, I don't think that's actually it. It's like the same thing as watching movies. Like, people love Scarface.
Well, yeah, it's just an interactive
but people hate
movie,
people hate GTA.
Yeah.
It's just the older generations, a lot of them don't understand what video games are about. And I'm not saying that all of them are like this, because the problem is when an older generation doesn't understand something, they try to bring it up as like a major issue that's attacking the youth. Like if you look at like rock and roll music, that was a big issue.
Or they just try to blame the younger generations for shit that's their fault.
Yeah.
Like,
back to our environmental thing, they blame us for why the environment's crappy.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, maybe the reason we have all these murderers running around is because we don't have a good educational system or system of support for people that have been abused in childhood.
Exactly. That's the reason for this podcast, is we want to inform you guys of, because we're some of the lucky few that actually got the opportunity to go to university, because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't have the opportunity to go, and we're just sharing what we've learned. But that's the biggest thing when everything boils down to, is that there needs to be more education for everything.
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess we can talk about that now. The school systems are pretty shit.
Yeah.
I think. Like, I understand teaching math and sciences, because otherwise we wouldn't be in the positions we are, right?
Yeah.
But, like, I find the problem with, like, because, like, I remember I had a planning class in grade 9. Did you have something like that?
Yeah,
and it was, like, the biggest bullshit class ever. It's like, oh, this is where you're going to go travel after you graduate. Yeah. This is the school you're going to go to. And I just remember sitting in this class, I'm like, Yeah, sure.
Meanwhile, I'm like, man, I just want to go get a slushie right now at 7-Eleven. Like,
yeah.
You're a kid. You don't really know that stuff. And
I'll be like, what are taxes? Can someone teach me taxes?
Seriously. Yeah, it's planning. Yeah, planning 10. But, I mean, honestly, though, a lot of the stuff you learn in elementary, it's hard because, you can't... Like, they want people to have a labor force so that you get educated when you're young and you can't work in labor, so that by the time you finally get to the age where you can work, that you're educated, you can do that stuff. But when you're young, like, you don't want to have scheduled and structured learning, or at least you don't want to have the type of learning that they try to force on you. Like, everyone's different. That's unfortunate. It's hard to tailor learning when everyone learns differently. And I mean, the education system we have right now, it's like, it really forces students, it just forces memory into their head. And when you have something like that where people aren't actually interested and passionate about what they're learning, because I know I wasn't. Like, I'm sitting in this class learning about the, social politics of, I don't know, like the Philippines in certain times. And I'm like, well, that's relevant to them, but it's not to me. And, there's some things I'm not interested in and that I'm learning about anyway, and that I'm going to just forget. And I've wasted so much of my time. Yeah,
one of my former teachers told me that, the best way for you to actually learn is pretty much impossible in the school system because time's the biggest problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Because how a class should be structured is you learn your first lesson, you take the test, let's just say you get 80%. Then they don't, I wouldn't say fail you, they make you retake the test until you get 100%, and then you move on to the next thing. This way you actually learn everything. And then keep moving on. This way, the people who, let's just say, understand the material a lot better can go on further. And the people that can't understand it on the first try, they get more tries at. Because sometimes it just takes, some people, it just takes them 5 tries to understand everything.
Yeah.
This way they can actually go on and become, scientists. Because, everyone learns at different levels. And then, you can teach it in different ways. The only problem with that is... By the time some students, they would only get 4 lessons in, while other ones are 12 lessons in.
And I think here homeschooling has its merit. I never really considered it, but you have just someone who knows you to tailor instruction to you, and there's probably lots of opportunities for that to go south. But I feel like if you did homeschooling really properly, you could probably. I mean, I know a lot of kids that were homeschooled that were really really smart kids because their parents knew how to interest them or how to get their passion for the
and they can also do it at their own pace. It's not you have 40 minutes for this class, 40 minutes for that class.
Oh, what's that? You have to have surgery? Too bad. You gotta go to school.
Oh, you missed a week of school? You don't know quadratics now.
I guess the whole rest of your life is screwed. What's that? You got mono? Oof. Holding back a year. It's rough. The current situation we have, it's rough, and it's almost like the problem is, though, of course, I can't really say this without admitting this too, but it's I don't have a solution. I don't think a lot of people have a solution, otherwise we'd implement it. But education's tough because,
I have one way we can upgrade it. Do it like we do with university. Have the students pick the class times that fit them better. Because another big problem I have with the education system is that everyone shows up at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Everyone goes home at 2.
Well, that's also because they need to give teachers a break, too, right?
Well, I'm pretty, if I became a teacher...
Yeah.
I don't want to get up at 7.
That's fair.
I want to do my class from 3 to 11.
That's a good point.
Because, I feel that's another problem, too, is, that was my biggest struggle when I came to school, is getting up that early every day.
Well, and all of society is structured around the, 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 work
that's the other problem, is, there's a lot of people that don't work that. There's a lot of people that work 11 to 7 in the morning. Yeah. There's a lot of people that prefer working 11 to 7. That's what I would prefer.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that, because, I'd rather, my days is usually 11 till 2 in the morning. That's my days. Your days is probably different. It's probably 5 till 5.
The day just becomes a big connected year to me.
But that's a lot of problem I find too, is that you're forcing people to basically get into this is what the labor force hours is gonna be like. And I remember I go to school, I'm my university is completely different. I have classes at 6 p.m.
Yeah, that's fair.
I feel if people got more choice on what there should be. I understand there should be stuff that you have to learn up to a certain age.
Yeah.
I believe
that's
up till
true,
grade 8s, it should be like all this curricular thing that they have now.
Right.
And then from 9 on, you pick.
That's not a bad idea because I remember too.
Except English, you need to know how to write and read.
That's fair, and a lot of people don't.
All the way to 12.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So, or at least if you have an idea of what you want to do or what you're interested in, maybe the younger education levels aren't about maybe they're not about trying to force kids to learn because they're so young. Maybe it's about letting them explore what they're interested in, and I've heard that brought up too.
Well, that's the problem with the generation.
You want to be a biologist? Take some stuff in biology and math because you're going to need that. And you want to be a great writer? Here's some old literature of stuff you might need to know. Like,
yeah,
let them explore their interests as opposed to forcing.
The problem with like a lot of problems, and I can experience this problem too, and you can probably account for this too, is that when you're in high school or like when you're about to leave high school, it's basically like you need to know what you want to be.
Oh yeah,
you need to start planning now.
For sure.
And all that, and it's like you don't really actually.
And lots of people don't. Everyone doesn't. I don't think. There's very rarely do people go out and say and know exactly what they want to do.
Which is why I think starting from like grade 9 high school, it should just be like you pick what you want to learn. Except you should learn the basics of English because I think that's a need for everything. I wouldn't even say a lot of people would say math as well, but I disagree because up to grade 8. If you have it up to a grade 8 understanding of math, I'm pretty sure you can get by in life. But if like you want to go into a certain career, then you can take it.
Yeah.
But like reading and writing all the way to grade 12, obvious because that's needed for every single thing you'll do in life.
I remember too, all the courses in high school, like there were some I got to choose, and all the ones that had like sorry, I should say this differently. So there was classes that were mandatory that you had to take, and then there were options that you could take outside of those as electives. And I remember all of the electives I had, I loved because I personally chose that. So
yeah.
I myself was responsible. It wasn't anyone forcing it on me. It was me going there willingly because I was the one who checked it. This is what I want to take.
Well, that was my best learning experience in university is when I got to pick my electives for like, I'm going to do history and I'm going to do politics. And I loved both those courses. I learned the most probably in those over my psychology courses. But, yeah, no, that's the problem you can kind of see nowadays is like everyone goes to school and they're just like, well, I'm just here because I'm forced to. And then
and you don't learn anything there. Even in the classes, so there were some electives in high school where I took them, and even if I didn't enjoy them, I still learned them.
Yeah.
Because I was still there being like, well, this is my decision. I may as well, make the most of it. Like, and I still learned crap in those because I was the one who picked it and chose it, and I had the free will to decide what I wanted to do, and maybe it was my responsibility that had it so that I actually learned some stuff in there, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's more about giving them a bit more choice and allowing them the freedom to explore these options that they might be interested in. Because I know when I was in high school, I'm like, I don't know what I want to be. I could be anything. So maybe let them explore this. Yeah. One of the most important things I know is whenever you make a decision in life, it's about knowing both sides importantly, and that also revolves around, when you're talking about what you want to do, is knowing what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
That was probably way more important and useful for me than me knowing what I do want to do.
Yeah.
Because ruling stuff out, that helps a lot. Like, I know I don't want to be, for example, like, a great writer, or I don't want to be...
my example is I don't want to be a chemist.
Donovan doesn't want to be a chemist. Oh, sorry. Well, Donnie, same thing. You don't want to be a chemist. Like it's so important. I don't want to be married to a black man with a dick bigger than mine. I don't know. Like, I
don't want to be a politician. There's all these stuff. The other thing I want to stress for if there's any younger viewers listening to this is don't pick one career path. Pick like 5 things you want to be, or you don't even really need a specific number. Just if there's a bunch of there's not a big deal if you want to be 7 different things at once, because you might as well explore all those options, and then you'll find which one you actually like.
And people's career change now too. Like in my co-op course, I learned that your career is going to change. Like the average person is expected to have their career change like 9 times in their lifetime, and I think on this note too, one of the most I don't know what to say, insightful things I ever was told was from my grandmother, and she's like 80 years old, and she's dark granny because she's from Turkey and she has dark skin, and I have dark granny and light granny. That's just fun info. So she's from Turkey.
I like how she's a dark turkey, like the dark turkey meat.
I have light meat granny and dark meat granny.
We are all just meat machines, don't forget.
Yeah. So, of course, I'm Turkish, so that has its own fun benefits, but I don't like it at all. Anyway, she told me, she's 80 years old, and I was talking to her about this. Like, man, I'm in school right now, and I'm really enjoying what I'm learning, but I don't know if I want to do this forever. And, like, I mean, I'm interested in the stuff, but does that mean that I have to do a career in it? And I don't know, she told me that she's 80 years old, and she still doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. And it's so true, because who the hell does? Who knows and who can plan perfectly and to carry out that plan exactly how they envisioned it.
Yeah.
People either don't know what they're going to do, or they know what they're going to do and there's going to be problems and they're not going to be able to do it anymore, at least to the extent that they wanted. Like, that happens all the time and people really don't know.
Except me. 10 years from now I'll be a WWE champion. Just you wait.
And I'll be married to a black man with a fat cock, and I'll be a happy
I didn't know
man.
Adrienne had a fat cock.
She's also a black man. Anyway, on that note, everyone.
For the next podcast, we're gonna definitely talk about. We're gonna break it off into biology and sleep. I don't know what to do about biology just yet, so it'll be a big surprise. Me and Colton will probably.
I can maybe come up with something.
Yeah, you can come up with something. But for psychology side, we're gonna talk about sleep and dreams, because that's something that my friend Bateman really wants to talk about, because he just wants to see me yell. We're going to talk about dreams, dream analysis, sleep for that part. And also, starting, I don't know when we're going to start this podcast, but this Wednesday is going to be the Wednesday Night Wars. So myself and the Judge Lemon will start releasing our own podcast, talking about week to week of the Wednesday Night Wars. And we're going to see who won each side for each, we're going to each put down a vote for who won that week. And we'll see at the end, if there is an end to this war, who won the war. And then also coming up is I'm going to start doing with my friend Bateman here. I'm going to start throwing games at him and see how well he does. See if he enjoys it. See if he punches me in the face. See if he removes me off Facebook. We'll never know.
I can handle it.
You can handle it?
I can handle it. Quote me on that. I can handle it.
First game, I can't handle this.
I can't handle this anymore.
But anyways, thanks as always for watching, and remember, we're all just meat machines.